Skyrim, one of the most popular games of all time. Its main story is fraught with political intrigue, vile mischief, endearing stories, and... Okay, let's be honest here. Skyrim is a very fun game for many reasons, but the main story... it's interesting. It's not terrible, or even bad in my opinion, but most other single-player RPGs have it beat out in the drama department. I see Skyrim get negative critiques of its main story all the time, and I agree to an extent. But some aspects of the main story do go above and beyond with character writing. The Greybeards, for example, are fascinating, and I love listening to them every playthrough. And all of the writing during the game's finale with Sun and the three heroes of Sovngarde are in beautiful verse, and I also really enjoy that. One character in particular, though, goes above and beyond. His character embodies the best traits of nearly every philosopher and religion I've ever studied, and for that reason, he's one of my favorite characters in the Elder Scrolls universe. It isn't easy to write a philosophical character into a story without them coming off as preachy and overzealous. The one we'll take a look at today, though, was written superbly, and for that reason, I believe he is not only the best character, but also the best aspect of Skyrim's writing in general. We all know him, and we all love him. Paarthurnax.
Drem Yolok, greetings, Wundernik. I am Paarthurnax. Who are you? What brings you to my Strunmach, my mountain?
I'm going to try to keep this video as straightforward as I can, because there is a lot to cover here. In order to stay focused, this video will be cut up into 4 segments, one for each of the most important character traits that Paarthurnax exhibits. These being self-control, patience, loyalty, and humility. Paarthurnax also talks a lot, and has many different lines depending on your responses, so in this video, you'll hear only the responses that I feel sum up his answers most cohesively. I'm also going to assume that most of you have at least a minimal understanding of who Paarthurnax is, and his place in the main story in relation to Alduin and the Dragon War. I don't want to waste a bunch of time explaining things that we do learn in-game. With that out of the way, let's dive into the wisdom of Paarthurnax and see what we can learn. One of the first things the player can see within Paarthurnax, and something we will later learn defines his every action, is his commitment to self-control. It is because of that fact that we will begin our discussion here. Self-control is the catalyst of all of the traits we will look at today. Without self-control, none of the others would be possible. Within a few moments of meeting the Dragonborn may ask, "Why live alone on a mountain if you love conversation?"
Evenar Balok, there are many hungers it is better to deny than to feed. Drechni Nakib, discipline against the lesser aids in Kachnar, denial of the greater.
A simple lesson to learn, but one very hard to practice. This quote also directly parallels real-life philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who once wrote, "We should discipline ourselves in small things, and from these progress to things of greater value." Interpretation of these quotes while teaching the same lesson do vary slightly. However, the distinction is an important one. Paarthurnax tells us discipline in the lesser leads to easier denial of the greater, while Aurelius tells us that denial of the lesser leads directly to greater outcomes. This slight difference highlights one of Paarthurnax's key character traits, which is the fact that he is in constant struggle against an enemy within that we'll come to know as we speak with him further. Denying small desires steals him in a way, reinforcing his denial of his greatest desire. Paarthurnax later delves further into this topic. While discussing Alduin, the player will say, "Are you saying the ancient Nords sent Alduin forward in time?"
Not intentionally. Some hoped he would be gone forever, forever lost. May I knew better. Tidbo Amativ, time flows ever onward. One day he would serve. surface. Which is why I have lived here. For thousands of mortal years, I have waited. I knew where he would emerge, but not when.
Paarthurnax's greatest struggle is laid bare here. Those who've played Skyrim will know that a dragon's greatest urge is to dominate. Paarthurnax, although calm and collected, is far from free of this desire. He actively fights it. For thousands of years, he has practiced self-control and gone against his nature to await Alduin's return, only because he knows that it's right. This struggle within him has a fantastical element to it, obviously being that dragons desire power. Importantly, though, it is something that we can all relate to in a more mundane way. Self-improvement is by no means easy. It takes recognition of the worst aspects of ourselves to even begin the process, and that confrontation will be a long and hard fight. This struggle of Paarthurnax not only defines him as a character in game, acting as the core motivation for all of his actions, but it also elicits a feeling of mutuality within the player, a feeling of understanding. In the various meetings with Paarthurnax, the Dragonborn will have many opportunities to display impatience. The Dragonborn is behaving naturally and heroically, of course, as Alduin is quite literally attempting to unravel the world, and well, we just want to stop him as fast as possible. Paarthurnax, though, not only denies quick thinking in himself, but also reinforces the Dragonborn to do so as well. Paarthurnax understands that the meaning behind actions is more important than the actions themselves. Moving too quickly can not only lead to failure, but sometimes towards a victory that you haven't even thought through and don't truly desire. When Paarthurnax asks the Dragonborn why they are searching for the Dragon Rend Shout, the player can say to the dragon, "I need to stop Alduin."
Yes, Alduin, Zembach, the elder brother, gifted, grasping, and troublesome, as is so often the case with Firstborn. But why? Why must you stop Alduin?
The prophecy says that only the Dragonborn can stop him.
True, but Kostid, prophecy, tells what may be, not what should be. Kostid Salo Ak. Just because you can do a thing does not always mean you should. Do you have no better reason for acting than destiny? Are you nothing but a plaything of Des, of fate?
When the player said, "I need to stop Alduin," they could instead have said, "I like this world. I do not want it to end." Paarthurnax's response echoes his first, but with more clarity.
Prusa, as good a reason as any. There are many who feel as you do, although not all. Some would say that all things must end, so that the next can come to pass. Perhaps this world is simply the egg of the next Kalpa, Lean Vokin. Would you stop the next world from being born?
The Dragonborn may respond to this impatiently yet again, saying the next world will have to take care of itself.
Paz, a fair answer. Rofus, maybe you only balance the forces that work to quicken the end of this world. Even we who ride the currents of time cannot see past time's end. Wulsetid los trahodis. Those who try to hasten the end may delay it. Those who work to delay the end may bring it closer. But you have indulged my weakness for speech long enough. Croesus, now I will answer your question. Do you know why I live here, at the peak of the Monaven, what you name cutthroat of the world?
The Dragonborn may unsurprisingly respond again with impatience, saying, "You said you were going to answer my question."
Drem, patience. I am answering in my way. This is the most sacred mountain in Skyrim, Paarthurnax, the great mountain of the world. Here, the ancient tongues, the first mortal masters of the voice, brought Alduin to battle and defeated him.
Throughout this conversation, Paarthurnax employs the use of the Socratic method, a form of thought or teaching developed by the Greek philosopher Socrates. The method is often used within a student-teacher environment, where the teacher basically just asks a student why until the student is capable of truly defining their reasons for doing things. They must answer the questions themselves, so their conclusion will always be their own, not something that they are simply regurgitating from a teacher. An answer that can lead to yet another why from the teacher, like the answer the Dragonborn first gave, is never accepted. The Socratic method forces patience and understanding. It pushes a person to slow down and deeply consider what it is that they're doing. The goal isn't necessarily to change the person's mind, but simply to promote the use of wisdom in action. It can only exist and be successful within an environment of patience and self-control. Paarthurnax understands that the most simple solution to the problem isn't always the best one. And although using any method to destroy Alduin might seem obvious, it may, in the end, be futile. What the player chooses to do with that knowledge is, of course, up to them. Paarthurnax further displays the importance of patience in this conversation as well when he proves that the history he can teach will illuminate the severity of Dragonrend, as well as how to discover it in the first place. The Dragonborn only has to stop for a moment, listen, and learn. Patience is what allows Paarthurnax to slowly ponder his options and make choices with wisdom rather than emotion. He accomplished this probably by employing the Socratic method upon himself and coming to the conclusion that although he desires certain things, those desires will not lead to better outcomes. Patience is also what allows Paarthurnax to practice the next virtue we'll speak of today. Today, when we speak of loyalty, I do not mean blind loyalty to a cause or a person as we often see it defined. Rather, I speak of active loyalty and integrity when it comes to personal values. Paarthurnax is loyal to what he knows is right and true, regardless of where that places himself, an act that requires great integrity to maintain. As I mentioned earlier, to dragons, the desire for power is the greatest that they experience. The Dragon War, in in-game text, even goes as far as to say, for dragons, power equals truth. The dragons see their power as a reflection of their way of life and self-worth, somewhat as certain humans do, but to a much greater extent. For every dragon recognizes power as supreme authority, while some humans refuse to acknowledge power has any importance at all. Paarthurnax was once a very powerful dragon, Alduin's right hand, in a sense. He could have chosen that life and relished in subjecting man, but he knew that it was wrong. Neglecting desires to pursue what is right is one of the most admirable virtues, and Paarthurnax even takes it a step further. When the Dragonborn asks him, "You mean you were there?" referring to the Dragon Wars, Paarthurnax responds,
Yes. There were a few of us that rebelled against Alduin Stur, his tyranny. We aided the humans in his overthrow. But they did not trust us, ni Ov. Their inner counsels were kept hidden from us. I was far from here on the day of Alduin's downfall, but all Dove felt the sundering of time itself.
Paarthurnax not only chose to do what was right, but he did so even when those he helped did not trust him and still mistreated him. This example is later reinforced after Alduin's defeat. Paarthurnax will say,
So, it is done. Alduin Dilon, the eldest, is no more. He who came before all others, and has always been.
The player can respond. You don't sound very happy about it.
Happy? No, I am not happy. Zeh mahi lost ondur bormahu. Alduin was once the crown of our father Akatosh's creation. You did what was necessary. Alduin had flown far from the path of right action in his Pachlok, in the arrogance of his power.
Paarthurnax cannot celebrate victory because it simultaneously means that his old friend, someone he once respected, is gone from the world forever. So, if we're keeping score, which I am, Paarthurnax first defied his friends and his nature to help people who did not trust him, solely because he knew that it was the right thing to do. He then stayed alone, against his nature, for thousands of years atop the throat of the world, where he practiced self-control and restraint, and patiently awaited Alduin's return, so he can once again fight for what is right. And finally, when the time came to face Alduin, he not only did so, but he wasn't brought to joy in the victory. He was glad that the time was over, but sad to have fought and seen the last of his old friend. Paarthurnax never once at any point in time got anything personal out of this fight. But he stayed loyal to the truth and to the reality that Alduin and his goals were immoral. The lesson that can be learned here is one of the hardest to accept. It is that victory isn't always sweet. We aren't always going to be happy about doing what is right. We aren't always going to get something out of it, even. Oftentimes, even the most important victories are tragedies within themselves. Seeking what nets you the best outcome isn't always greater, and oftentimes you'll find that it is actually the worst. Finally, we will take a look at humility. Before continuing our discussion of Paarthurnax, though, I'd like to share a quote from the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. In the Tao Te Ching, he wrote, "The twisted alone will understand the straight. Only the exhausted will find renewal. When you have little, you will gain much. Have too much, and lose your way. Not focused on self, all know him. Not focused on being right, all see him as a model. Not needing to show off, his success is ensured. Not a glory seeker, his glory lasts and lasts. Not a disputer, the sage has cultivated no one under heaven to dispute against him." If you'll allow one more, I'd also like to quote American transcendentalist Henry David Thoreau. In Walden, Thoreau wrote, "Humility, like darkness, reveals the heavenly lights. The shadows of poverty and meanness gather around us, and lo, creation widens to our view." Both of these quotes teach that humility allows us to follow the path of least resistance and thus reveals true nobility and virtue, a concept highly valued in both Taoism and most Western philosophy. To not fight with reality by accepting uncomfortable truths, and to also accept our weaknesses and failures for what they are. This allows us to learn from them, leave them in the past, and accept the often greater reality. When confronted with the fact that the Blades want him dead, Paarthurnax responds not with anger or defense as one would expect, but with respect and understanding.
The Blades are wise not to trust me. Onikan Niov. I would not trust another Dova.
Why shouldn't they trust you?
Dov Walan Farel. We were made to dominate. The will to power is in our blood. You feel it in yourself, do you not? I can be trusted. I know this, but they do not. Onikan Niov Dova. It is always wise to mistrust a Dova. I have overcome my nature only through meditation and long study of the way of the voice. No day goes by where I am not tempted to return to my inborn nature. Zingriforvut se sulech.
Paarthurnax lets humility guide him towards understanding the blade's position, a feat that most would fail to accomplish. He says, "I can be trusted, I know this, but they do not," and he goes on to claim that that is wise of them. He takes no offense, he is not outraged by the misunderstanding, even one so great that it could lead to his death. Most people fail to find understanding or common ground even in casual disagreements, but Paarthurnax is able to do so in a much more important conversation. Humility allows him to look past what he knows to be true and see things from a different perspective. He recognizes the merit of their argument, even though he knows that they are wrong. This is impossible for a self-obsessed person, and only by living with humility can we work towards a more united and understood world. Paarthurnax concludes that conversation with his most famous quote,
What is better, to be born good or to overcome your evil nature through great effort?
To embody each of today's virtues is no easy feat, yet one we should all strive to achieve. A constant battle to be fought every second of the day. None of us are right about everything, and none of us can ever hope to be truly righteous. Each of us may only choose what to do right now, and be the person that we'd like to be. Paarthurnax is a character that not only embodies these lessons, but acts as a teacher to the player. And we are given the choice in the end to betray this teacher, or spare his life. Given this choice, will you take matters into your own hands? Do you claim to know what is right? Will you make the choice and declare what is good and what is evil? Our relationship with Paarthurnax is the lesson that he teaches. And at the climax, we must demonstrate what we learned from him. And that lesson is the teaching of nearly every religion and philosophy. And by now you must also see the parallel between this quest and the Garden of Eden. People can claim that the makeup of Skyrim's story isn't the most cinematic and will probably not have you at the edge of your seat. But they can never claim that the writing itself isn't truly fascinating and impactful. That is, if you're patient enough to listen. I hope you have all enjoyed this video. The deeper theology and philosophy of the Elder Scrolls is my favorite aspect of the series, so concepts like this one are my favorite to cover. So thanks for listening and giving me a place to nerd out about it. If you have any cool lessons like this that you've learned from any game, please drop it in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. Also, I just hit 1,000 subscribers. I have grown so fast over the past couple of weeks that I am struggling to even comprehend it. I mean, I was just coming to terms with reaching 500 this week, and now here I am. I'm truly grateful for all the support, and honored, honestly, that you are all taking the time out of your day to hear me ramble about this nerdy stuff, so thank you. For now, I've been Sir Schmib. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Until next time.